Alright, next video. This video we're going to go over is how to construct a histogram. You're hearing that the main decisions are number of bins and bin width. I basically always will adjust the bin width. To me it just makes more sense. But I'll go through this technique right here. Let's just walk through it one thing at a time. So I already have just people who take the bus to work. I have 219 of them. And I'm now going to go and create a histogram, which is under the plots. So again, just to go back to this, I went into my toolbox, I went to plots, I went to histogram. I'm going to select my variable, commute time. And I'm not going to do binning strategy automatic. You can do this. It's not like you're not going to get a histogram that looks all right. It does look all right. But there's advantages to being able to make your own. So when I do set my own bin width, you'll notice, I don't know if you can really tell, but these are sort of gray. It means that they haven't been entered yet. They're not really in use yet until I actually enter them. So when I type in a 0 here, I don't know if you can really tell, it should look a little darker. I don't think it really does, but so you always should start at 0. 0 is a very good starting point. And then how do you want to, the size is how wide do you want these to be. It looks like when it was originally made, it made them right at 10. 10 actually doesn't look like it looks like a pretty decent bin width for this variable, so I'm fine with 10. I want to go all the way to 141, so I usually will go over it to 150. And then so you can do it two different ways. You can do, see, this did not create anything different. I really didn't accomplish anything, and sometimes you're lucky where the auto does a really good job. Other times the auto doesn't do a very good job. There's one other command, this density. So usually it kind of depends on if you want to do count or density. Like if you're just doing a single group by itself, like this is just the bus riders, I'm not comparing them to anyone else, it's okay to do count. But when you have two different groups that you're comparing, often density is better. The density here, it's a little misleading. It's like, what is the density? Why is it saying like 0.02? 0.02 is only like 2 out of 100. But it's actually these densities, the density that you read here, you always have to multiply by the length of your bin width. So we had a 10 bin width, so all of these density should be multiplied by 10. So it's saying, if you read this here, it's 0.246, so that's actually 24.6. 24.6% of bus riders are reporting between 30 and 39 minutes on the bus. You come over here, you got 60, it's 1.55, so that's actually multiplied by 10, it's 15.5% of people. And then these people are taking a lot of time on the bus. You multiply that by 10, it moves the decimal in one place, it's like 5.9. Almost 6% of people are reporting over 2 hours on the bus. This is fine. One of the things I will sometimes do is I'll put it at 1 and just see what it looks like. It's kind of nice when you can do it at 1. When you do it at 1, then actually these percentages, the densities that you're reading, are actually the true percent, because you multiply the density times the bin width. 19.6 times 1 is 19.6. So we're seeing that actually 19.6% of bus riders are reporting exactly 30 minutes on the bus. You go to 60, you got 14.6%. Here's 45, 12.3. So you can kind of see the data. It's somewhat misleading when you see these bins. You think there's a lot of people reporting between 30 and 39, but in reality, people are only reporting 30 and 35. And then the next report is 40. And then somehow someone reported 42, which is kind of an odd thing. There's not too many people reporting like 63, 65, but it does happen. But you can see most of the results here are reporting at some pretty, even numbers, rounded numbers, 35, 40. And we prefer to see a histogram that has this, not these big holes in it. If I was going to describe the shape of this histogram, it appears that it does have like a long right tail, because it sort of comes down and then it extends out quite a bit. And we don't really have all the full detail here, is because these are outliers. This big clump here, right here at 6%, is a bunch of people that are taking in excess of like the last reported digit, what looks like over 100 minutes. So once you hit over 100 minutes, you're grouped together in this big outlier group. So it looks like it has a right skew. It looks like we have a center around 30. 30 is also the mode. It's the highest point on the graph. We do see like a secondary kind of a peak. So this is sort of a binomial distribution. I don't think I would say this is a binomial, this hour and a half. It is possibly, there's like a ripple here, but I think this ripple is more due to like how people are reporting. You can kind of see like it, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up. But I think this is more a function of how people, view time. Hour and a half, an hour, or a half an hour on the bus. We could play around with it and maybe improve it if we set it to 5. Sometimes you want to try to see if you can get a better sense of the distribution. So you can see like, it seems like there's a lot in the 40 to 49, but it's actually more there in the 45 region. And it seems like, there's not a lot of people reporting after 30. So here's those bumps again that we kind of seen already right here. So I don't know. I think from like someone who's doing research, you want to look at a very small bin width at once so you can get a sense of how the nature of the data is looking. But then when you're reporting the data out, you kind of like to have a smoother data curve to report out. I don't think you'd want to move to 15 minutes. There could be some advantage to that. I mean, someone could even say, well, what about just go to 30 minutes? It's like, it's not bad. I mean, you do see like, whoa, there's a lot of people between 30 and an hour, but you've lost a lot of detail that you had earlier. So I think the 10-minute interval is pretty good. It's really a judgment call. You can't really say one is better than the other. All right, well, those are the details. I think the biggest detail I wanted to say is automatic can work, but I wouldn't get in the habit of only doing automatic. I would get in the habit of setting my own bin width, and I like to set the bin width. Always make sure you type a 0 in and then tab over and do the correct size, and then always finish at the end. If you don't finish at the end, sometimes, I'm not sure it will show up here, but, oh, see, I set a 0 in there, but sometimes you can get in trouble. Like say you stopped at 120, you lose the end of your graph, because there was this group at 140. So you really want to make sure. So when most people do this sort of work, they're always first going to look at the summary statistics so they can get the min and the max, and then they can make sure that when they do their data, when they do actually the histogram, make sure they capture everything. All right, thank you guys.